Hey fam, good night. Welcome. This is Cam. Welcome to At This Ungodly Hour. For those joining on Facebook at Commodacity and YouTube at Commodacity. Welcome. If you know me in real life and if you've been following me any at all, you know that gender issues is something that is very dear to me, something that I have keen interest in because, we're male and female on the planet, or we're human beings, male and female. Nowadays, people trying to even stretch it beyond that, right? But let's stay with the basics, right? Basics, we're male and female, and we have to interact. We're here on the one piece of rock, sailing around the sun. We bump into each other, we have to. So for me, I want to try to get to the nitty-gritty of things. I want to understand and make sense of the relations between male and female. And so you find I do a lot of videos on this, and these videos are really just me working things out in my head and you eavesdropping on that. That's pretty much what it is me talking to myself, thinking things out loud, trying to rationalize things and make sense of things. Because to me, the thing must make sense. I'm a very practical and pragmatic person when it comes to life. When I just get up and do things because other people doing it, or because this person say I must do it, or that person say I must do it, no matter what authority they come with. And this is how I've always been. No matter what authority that person comes with, if what they're saying doesn't make sense to me, I'm not gonna accept it. So I have these conversations out loud, but I'm really talking to myself. And you have the opportunity to listen in. If it's something that interests you, then by all means, I welcome your comments. I welcome your questions and so on, right? So tonight's topic is a statement. I have chosen you to be my slave. And this would be the statement made by the male because in our society, in Western and Eastern societies, women are raised, they are prepared to believe that the ultimate goal is marriage, and her role as the female in the marriage pretty much is to serve her husband, to be submissive to him and to cater to his needs. And what this does is, in serving men, it depletes women. And this is particularly the case in modern times, where the woman is not just at home serving her husband, doing the traditional chores, the cooking, the washing, the cleaning, being there to satisfy his sexual needs, taking care of the children, attending to them and their education. She's not only doing that, but in these modern times, she's also expected to hold up the financial, at least half in most households in the modern world, the financial burdens as well. So You have she still having her traditional roles, and also now bearing half of his role in terms of finances. So she is drained, she is burdened, she's depleted. If you look at most couples, husband and wife, if they started off pretty much at the same age, and this is something I've noticed it. If they start off pretty much in the same age group, by 10, 15, 20 years, the woman looks haggardly. She looks depleted. She has let go. The man, he still looks pretty young by comparison. The only thing with the men, which might level things out, is they tend not to take care of their health, right? But for if it's a man who, let's say he eats right, let's say they both eat right, they both exercise, and that part of it is balanced out, she's going to look much older than he, because the burden of the marriage falls on her, and yet she is expected to submit to him, and he is the head of the household, and his final word goes. Marriage depletes women. Traditional marriage depletes women. One of the main causes of this whole thing, in my opinion, is religion. Religion. And I'm going to particularly focus on Christianity, because that's what I know. That's the culture that I am from here in the Caribbean, and what I've been exposed to through North American culture. Christianity is the dominant religion. If your religious text starts out by saying that the woman came from the man, the woman was made for the man, if that is the premise of your religion, that in itself going to start a ton load of problems, right? Because already if she accepts that religion, if she accepts that doctrine, she's already priming herself for slavery, for servitude. She was made for him, to serve him, to satisfy his needs. Automatically, her needs become secondary, and she becomes an appendage. She was there. She's just there. Her whole existence is based on him. And I believe that is the root of a lot of the problems that we have now, because of that fundamental doctrine that the woman was made, first of all, out of him. I don't know how a thinking human being can rationalize the idea that a woman was made from the rib of a man. I don't know how thinking human beings wrap their minds around that, to accept that as something that could happen, right? But if you accept it, that you were made from his rib and you were made as his helpmate to serve him, to satisfy him, you're going to readily submit yourself to servitude, and that is what women have done. That's what women are doing, and it takes a toll on them. It takes a physical toll, it takes an emotional toll, it takes a toll on their self-esteem and what they allow themselves to go through, and what they allow people to do to them. because of this doctrine. I'm going to share with you some excerpts from a book that I've been reading for the past couple of days. This is actually it's one of the literature books, that one of the new set of literature books selected by CSEC for the literature, English literature, right? In a little while, I'll share some excerpts of that book and tell you what the title of the book is. I'm trying not to be a spoiler for those who haven't read the book as yet, but it deals with this topic, the topic of marriage and the servitude of women, according to my interpretation of the book. So I'm going to go into that. Before I do that, I want to start with it's a little excerpt from a movie, right? The movie was The Tin Drum, and it actually was a book first, a novel by Gunter Grass. I believe he was German or Austrian or something. He was a European writer. The novel is set in Poland and Germany during the occupation of the Nazis. So this is in the late 1920s, 30s, and around about the time of World War II. Right. So when the movie begins, so Oscar, who is the main character, he's telling about how his grandma and his grandpa met, right? How his grandma and his grandpa met. So remember, this is occupied Poland, German occupied Poland. And so you have German soldiers constantly walking around, checking everybody's documents and so on. So the grandpa, so this is before he even met this woman who is going to become his wife, right? So the movie starts with him running across the field for dear life. He's being chased by the Nazi soldiers, or maybe it was the Polish police. I don't quite remember. But he's being chased by law enforcement. He's actually kind of those people who get into petty trouble all the time, right? So he's always trying to outrun the law. And he's being chased across the field, this wide open field. So this woman, she's sitting down on the field. She's a farmer, right? So what she does is she plants her potatoes, and then when she reaps the potatoes, she roasts them and sell them to the people working on the fields. That's what she does for her living. So she's there on the field, in those big skirts that European women used to wear in those days, and she's there roasting her potatoes. So she's sitting and eating some of the potato, right? So she see this man running across the field, running for dear life, and she see either the police or the soldiers, whatever, chasing after him with their guns, right, ready to shoot him. So he runs and runs and runs, and he comes up to her, and without even saying anything to her, she just immediately understand the trouble that he's in, the danger. And what she does is she just stands and she lifts her big layers of skirt, maybe 3-4 layers of skirts and aprons, and she stands up, lifts them up, and tell him to go under. Okay, so he lies on his back and shuffles under her skirt, and she just put over the skirt, right? And she sits. And so the soldiers run up to her and they're asking her, have you seen this villain? Have you seen this man? And they're describing him. And she's there looking, like she said, no, I haven't seen anybody. And while the soldiers are there questioning this woman, because remember, if she's harboring a fugitive, her life now is in danger. So the two soldiers are there. Have you seen him? And they're digging through her potato patch, ramming their rifle, ramming their spears through the boxes of potato to see if he's in the potato hiding. You know what this man is doing? Under the woman's skirt, having intercourse with her while the soldiers are there. And she has to be, he's there having intercourse, and she talking to the soldiers and trying to maintain her composure, right? And he's under there just seizing the opportunity to mate, knowing well that his life is at stake, her life is at stake. And then eventually the soldiers move off and run along the, the, the field in pursuit of this man. So when she realized that they were gone, she lifted herself up, lifted up her skirt, and there's this man buckling up his pants, having had intercourse with her, buckling up his pants and get up. And that's how his grandparents met each other. Now, I started off with this scene because it very much depicts the attitude of lots of men when it comes to their groin area. It takes precedence even over their safety, over their life, over the life of anybody else who comes into contact with him. Men have a weakness. I mean, this is well known, but maybe the extent of it is not well appreciated. They put their lives at risk. They're willing to give it all up for that one moment of pleasure, instant gratification, without thinking of the ramifications of it, the consequences of it. Here is your life in danger, and somebody is trying to protect you. She don't know you from anywhere. She just see the desperate situation you're in, and she decides to help you out. And you are able to put all of that aside and just focus on the instant gratification, putting your life and her life at risk. And this is how a lot of men behave. They are just rampant. They just want to use, abuse, and I recently someone who I know, someone who is well known. I won't call the person's name, but someone who is fairly well known. He passed, and I was talking to somebody who knows the person, and the statement that the person made, it made me really have to stop, check myself. The person was saying, because this individual was wild, right? Just wild, just going about the place. And the person said, boy, him supposed to mash up the whole and him call the name of the community where the person's from. Him supposed to mash up the whole of that community. Then what he means is, because this individual was so wild and just going from here to here. But in his mind, this is another male commenting. That's the idea they have, that intercourse is if it's not real, or if it's really real, you must mash up the woman. She must be hopping and crying in pain. She must call you later and tell you how you mash up her belly. It's like you go on a rampage and you just want to wreck You just want to wreck, and you don't understand that there are consequences. This is why a lot of women can't have babies when they get older. And they allow this to happen to them because they have been told, their holy book tells them, their parents tell them, their teachers maybe more in a more subtle way tell them, this is what you are here for. You are here to serve. And young girls are primed to think of marriage as the ultimate goal. You must be marriage material. You must be wifey material. This is what we tell our young girls. What is wifey material? Wifey material is the woman who can cook good and know how to wash good, and know how to please her woman or her husband sexually, and can take care of the house and can take care of the children. That is wifey material. If you can't do those things, you're not wifey material. You're maybe side chick material, right? Just for him to please him when he's on the road, but he's going to come home to the one who does those skills. And she has to prove herself worthy of the ring, right? She has to prove herself worthy of the ring by doing these things. You need to decide as a woman if this is what if this is what you are worth, right? You need to decide if this is what you are worth. And a lot of times when women go out of their way to do all of these things and check off all the boxes, you still find that you're not enough for these men. You're not enough. They still need what they need, and they go outside and they still get what they want to get. It's all about them. We tolerate selfishness in men. We tolerate this idea that the man needs what he needs, and wherever he is to get it, he should go and get it. So I'm going to share with you. So this is the novel. It's called Letitia, For the Life of Letitia. Right? For the Life of Letitia. And the author is Merle Hodge. She's one of my favorite Caribbean writers. I absolutely love Crick Crap Monkey. That was my first time being introduced to Merle Hodge in her novel Crick Crap Monkey, and I really love it. This book, For the Life of Letitia, to me, it mirrors Crick Crap Monkey. The storyline, they are pretty similar. And so this is one of the texts that have been selected for this year and the next couple years for the CSEC literature syllabus. Now, this is just my interpretation of the novel. Of course, literature is open to each person's interpretation. Right? So, I'm going to read a couple excerpts. Let me share that page with. I'm going to share the pages with you. All right, so in the novel is and like I said, I'm trying not to spoil it for those who haven't read the novel and intend to read it. I'm trying not to spoil. But so we have two little girls. They have just met each other at school, both starting secondary school. They are both poor girls, but The Indian girl, Anjani, is a little bit less off than Letitia. And so Letitia is telling now about Anjani. So Anjani is the Indian girl. In this book, she's called a coolie. As you know, in the Caribbean, a lot of times this is how Indians are referred to. Some persons find it a derogatory term. So Anjani didn't talk about herself anymore. It was as though she felt that she had said too much already. Now she was reluctant even to share my textbooks in class and kept saying she was getting her own books next week in quotation. One day her pen spattered and we both got ink on our shirts. By the end of a fortnight, I realized that Anjani had only one shirt. For every day, I saw the same pattern of ink dots on her sleeve. Then she disappeared for 3 days. When she came back to school, she was tight-lipped. She wouldn't breathe a word about why she had missed 3 whole days in a row. We were sitting on our log, far away across the playing field, eating lunch. I was questioning her, trying to find out what had happened, and she stubbornly refused to talk. I lost my patience and got up from the log. Well, we can't be friends, I reproached her, if we're going to keep secrets from one another. Anjani dropped her face into her hands and began to cry. I sat down again and tried to eat my words. I only making joke, Anjani. You don't have to tell me. Then, after a pause, during which she kept her face buried in her hands, I added, I know it was because you didn't have money, but I don't see why you shame for that. We ain't have no money neither, and I ain't shame. Slowly she lifted her head out of her hands and straightened her shoulders. She began to talk. On the Monday morning, she had gone to each brother in turn and then her father for money to pay the taxi fare. Her mother had been squeezing money out of what they gave her every week to go to the shop and giving it to Anjani to pay the taxi to Kegwal. But that week, there wasn't a cent left over. Her brothers and her father had each brushed her off, saying they had no money. Then she had started over again, going back to her biggest brother, the one who had a regular job with the county council. He made a terrible scene. He told her he would break her foot if that was the only way to make her stay home and do her work. She was out of the house all day, going out early in the morning and reaching home near nighttime, leaving her mother to do all the work. Why should he waste his good money sending her to any high school? For she was high enough already, and in fact, a little too high with herself. She was a girl and already knew everything a girl needed to know. Why would she want to know more than her mother? When her father and one brother set out for the garden and the two other brothers went to work, Anjani and her mother picked some vegetables from her mother's kitchen garden, and Anjani went round the village with a tray on her head, selling what she could. She did this for 2 days, and on the third day was flat in bed with fever and a headache from having walked about in the sun for hours. Now she stopped talking, and we both sat and stared across the field. What was to be done? I don't want to end up like my mother, Anjani said vehemently. I'm not going to end up like my mother. I'd rather dead. If you see how much work my mother does have to do when the day come, and only me to help her. After me is only a little children. So only me to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and help her knead the flour so everybody could eat and get food to carry. Only me to help her bring water and bathe the little ones for school, feed the baby, wash everybody's clothes, iron everybody's clothes, sweep the house, sweep the yard, cook a ton load of food in the evening again. And they don't even see her, you know that? They don't even know how much work she's doing. And she working day and night for them. She don't get to do one thing for herself. They does just come home and eat, mess up the house, drop their dirty clothes. If it was me, I would just walk away one day and leave them there in their mess. But when I tell her so, she does just shake her head and say, Where will I where I will leave them and go? Betty, I ain't have schooling. You want me to go by the side of the road and beg? All right, so Anjani is explaining the situation at her home where her mother and herself, the females in the family, are the ones who have to carry the brunt of the weight in terms of the work, which is contradictory because if you say that the woman is the weaker vessel, the inferior one, how is it that the weaker vessel is given the majority of the physical labor in terms of the upkeep of the house? That does not make sense. So we have the brothers and the father going out. The brother does clerical work, right? And the weight of the work falls on the females. And they don't think that Anjani should go to secondary school. They believe that she has learned all that she needs to learn because she's a girl and her role is in the house, taking care of the chores of the house. She has to cook for everybody, wash for everybody, iron for everybody. And this is a 11 or 12-year-old girl, right? The woman, and as a matter of fact, it's not even that the woman must serve her husband. Did you know that most husbands expect their wife to serve their friends as well? The husband's cronies, when he takes them over, no matter how often he takes them over to the house, she must serve them as well. She must cater to them as well, right? She must be in the kitchen cooking for these friends of his, and she must serve them. She's expected to do that as the hostess. The pretty word, the hostess, right? She's expected to do that. And the female child as well is expected to serve not just the father, but his friends. And this is so in many of the households. Now, in our situation, in the Black communities, the matter is even worse because whereas other communities, they are willing to marry, right? They are willing to marry and at least give the woman that status of wife, which for some women that they're all right with that if the status means a lot to them. In our community, in the Black community, Black men, they don't believe in marriage as a group. They don't want to marry and settle down and make a commitment, a monogamous a commitment to a monogamous union. Black men are not inclined to do that. So you have the woman still shacking up. They want to shack up. They want to test out the union for 10, 20, 30, 40 years before they decide to put the ring on your finger. When they are decrepit and nobody else wants them, then they will settle in with you, and you have to drag them kicking and screaming to get it official. I remember hearing a man say, I'm not married, my wife is married. And as crazy as that sounds, this is the idea that a lot of men have, especially Black men. It's their wife who is married. They are not married. So they want to shack up with you. You don't get the legal benefits of the union. You don't get the status, the social benefits of the union. All you get is to know that he has chosen you to be his slave. And you feel good about that because the others, they are not worthy of serving him. Is that enough for you, women? Is that enough for you? Do you know that in a lot of marriages, this is something I've noticed, especially in Christian marriages. Did you know that even the son, the little boy, is held up as superior to his mother? This is something I've noticed, and it comes out in this book as well, right? Where the mother is not even allowed to reproach her son because he is male. So the hierarchy, based on my observation, especially in Christian households, the hierarchy is the husband and then the son, regardless of his age. We're talking about even a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old boy. The mother have to watch what she doing when she talking to that little boy, especially to make his dad hear her reprimanding him. She have to watch what she said to that little boy. I've seen it in many Christian households. So you have the father and the son, no matter his age, and then the mother, and then the daughter. That seems to be the hierarchy from my very keen observation. And the females are there to serve all the males. They are there to serve all the males. The man, his friends, his whatever. She must make herself be there. If it means that she have to spend the whole day cooking and then spend the whole day shopping and then come and cook it and then serve it for him and his guests. And she gets the title of hostess, right? He'll give her some titles to make her feel good, but what she's really doing is servitude, and it's not very far from slavery because you're not being paid for it. As a matter of fact, you have to pay, you have to help out with the finances plus all of this that you're doing. How do you spend your Saturday compared to how your husband spends his Saturday? And the two of you work Monday to Friday. Typically, in the typical household, the two of you work Monday to Friday, 40 hours, right? Two of you, 40 hours. Yes, I made this observation right here in Jamaica, right here. I made that observation several times because I have to deal with parents, my students and their parents. 40-hour week, the two of you work 40-hour week. The two of your salary coming together to run the household because one salary cannot run the modern household. It can't. Then no, he gets to relax on Saturday. He gets to watch football all day, or he gets to go out with his boys, or he gets to lock in and watch and play video games all day. What are you doing on a Saturday? You're doing chores. You're ensuring the kids do their schoolwork. You're ensuring that the groceries are bought. You have to go to the market. You have to go here. You have to go there. And it goes over into Sunday as well. Your weekends are booked. His weekends are for relaxation and recuperating from the work week. All right, so yeah, well, This is, I'm talking from my observation. This is what I've seen. And I'm going to read to you now this excerpt from the book again, where it deals with that, right? So I'm going to share again. So this is from a scene where her brother, and her brother is about 8 or 9 years old. So the brother is 8 or 9, and his name is Michael. So it says Michael, she taught her brother. So she went to live with her dad. This is the man who did not take care of her from she was born. Her mom had to struggle with her. He maybe give her a little, if I'm running to her in town, he might buy an ice cream for her, right? So now she reached high school age. She passed her exam, gone to high school. Now he's ready to come in and talk about my daughter this and my daughter that, right? So now he takes her to live with him to show off on his friends about his bright daughter. And he has married now to this light-skinned woman, and they have a son. This son does nothing in the home, absolutely nothing. He goes as he pleases. He goes outside and he plays all day, come back in dirty in the evening to eat dinner. So Letitia teaches Michael how to wash the plates. All right, so Michael was standing on a stool at the sink, splashing water, playing with the soap, and talking his head off. Mr. Cephas, as the dad, was suddenly upon us. He gasped and rushed back out towards the gallery. Michael fell silent. He stopped playing in the sink and started to wash dishes in earnest, thinking perhaps that his father would be pleased at his helpfulness. Mr. Cephas was ranting in the drawing room, and the angry sound was coming closer. Then he was in the kitchen again with Miss Velma, that's his wife, meek and cowering behind him. She was looking as if he had dragged her bodily through the house. Washing wares? Washing wares? Mr. Cephas was shouting at her. In the kitchen? Washing wares? I tired talk to you about how you're turning this boy into a damn kunumunu. No wonder he can't learn his book. Two female in the house and my son have to be washing wares. Boy, get your tail down from there. And if your mother put you to wash wares again, tell her to go to hell. You hear that? If your mother, so he's talking to a 9-year-old boy. If your mother put you to wash wares again, tell her to go to hell. And twice his hand flew up as if to hit Miss Velma, and she cringed each time. Okay? So you see, and this is typical from my experience, right? Typical. Yeah. He comes home. So this girl, she thinks she's doing something good, right? Because she go to live with them and she realizes this little boy don't know anything. First of all, he's dunce. He doesn't do any chores. He just wants the mother is serving him and the dad. So Letitia was raised by her grandma, raised to help out and to do, to handle herself. So she said, okay, let me teach my brother how to bathe himself, how to wash the dishes. And the dad comes home and sees his son washing the dishes. And what does he say? He flares up. How dare you put my son to wash plates? And then he tells the boy, if your mother ever put you back in the kitchen for do work where girl pitney for do, tell her go to hell. He's telling the son, tell your mother go to hell. And this is something I've witnessed, I'm telling you, especially in Christian households. Don't think it's the dad and then the mom. It's the dad, the son, and then the mom. from my observation. Maybe it's different in your household. You can tell me, right? So maybe it's different for you, but I'm telling you what I have seen, what I have observed. And here it is. I'm reading you the excerpt from this book. And this is also what we're hearing. This is the attitude of the men. I mean, I've seen and heard this so many times, even in my little neighborhood here. When you hear conversations, and this is the attitude. The mother not supposed to talk to her son. This is how a lot of men feel, because she was made for the male, to serve the male. She's subservient. She's inferior even to her son. So I'm going to continue reading, and I'm not spoiling it. Trust me, there's a whole lot more to the novel. These are not spoilers. I'm just picking out the issues that have to do with what we're talking about now, right? Go and read the book. So this is the book, For the Life of Letitia. It's one of the literature books I'm doing with my students this year for CSEC. It's one of the new batch of books that CSEC has selected for the students, all right? There's a whole lot more depth to this novel, so go and read it. All right, so I think this is my last excerpt, I believe. Yeah. And by the way, there is a character in the novel, Miss Zeline, who is, she's depicted kind of like as a counterpart to the other women, because she has decided not to get married, not to have kids, and to do her own thing, right? So there are women who take this route because they don't intend to be servants. All right, so she's talking now about her stepmom, who is so afraid of her husband. She has become so timid, so scared of her husband. The following afternoon, Miss Velma called me into her bedroom. There was a photograph album on the bed, and this she invited me to look through. It began with pictures of herself as a young girl, posing in gardens and on steps with her skirt gaily spread out around her. Pictures of her taken in studios against painted walls of sea, mountain, or flowery meadow. In one photograph, she was wearing a school uniform. In all, she was a laughing, lively young person. There was her wedding picture with Mr. Cephas, looking like a fattened penguin in his three-piece suit, and Miss Velma with life still shining out of her. You hear that? She still had life shining out of her on her wedding day. There were pictures of Michael, an ugly baby, bald with an old man's face. While I looked through the album, Miss Velma was sorting the clothes that she had just taken off the line. Suddenly she said, "You mustn't go against them, your father, you mustn't go against him. It don't pay to get them vexed. When you get big and you have your husband, you will know for yourself. Jump high or jump low, you have to please them. That is a woman's lot." She took the album and turned back to the picture of herself in school uniform. In the picture, she looked about 12 years old. I was a bright little girl. I was a bright little girl like you. Bright as a bulb, they used to say. I start to go to secondary school too. But it wasn't like now. In those days, you had to pay school fees. And then they only had secondary schools in the city. So when you add up school fees, bus fare, books, uniform, lunch, well, when my younger brother reached the age for secondary school, they take me out and put him in. They didn't have the money to pay for two. And it's more important for a boy to get education. They put me by a lady to learn sewing. Then I went to work in a shirt factory. When I meet your father, I was working there. As soon as we get married, he made me leave the job. So you hear what Miss Velma is saying? She was a brilliant little girl, just like Letitia, full of life, full of hope, full of ambition. And this was cut down when she got married. Well, first of all, when her brother when her brother became old enough to go to high school, she had to stop because it is considered that the boy's education is more important. And then she was sent to learn sewing. So it is felt that the girl must only know things that is going to equip her to run the house. She must learn to sew and cook and wash and clean. And if they could teach her how to spread her legs, they would teach her that. But you know how valuable that is to the husband, only he must teach her that. So Miss Velma sighed and her talkative mood vanished. So when she remembers how her childhood was, how she was fresh and vibrant and full of life, full of hope, full of ambition, and she's looking now at what she has become, cowering under her husband, scared to even look him in the eye or answer him. There was still a mountain of clothes on the bed to be sorted out before the hours of ironing began. Mostly Michael's and Mr. Cephas's shirts, jerseys, vests, long pants, short pants, underpants, socks, towels, washcloths, handkerchiefs. I made a move to help her, but she waved me away. No, child, this is my work. You take your book and study your lesson, and study good. All right, so that's the end of the excerpts that I'm going to read from the book For the Life of Letitia. Right, a lot of gender issues in that book, and I love gender issues because I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to understand it, and I'm not knocking men. I love men, and I don't think women can survive without men or men survive without women. We are made here to complement each other. But because of misunderstanding, we tend to do things that abuse each other. And unfortunately, women have suffered most of the abuse. And I see it as my duty to try to help get to the bottom of it so we can come to terms with it, right? And stop the foolishness. All right, so let me read what she's saying. In my 60s, I'm in my 60s, and my brothers had to share the chores, okay? So here we have a different experience. My husband had to learn everything as a youngster, and our 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, they had to do chores, even though we always had a domestic technician. We did that in order for them to be prepared for life. And yes, some households do encourage both males and females to do chores, to participate. And this is a healthy way. This is a healthy approach. This is how it should be. There are no chores that necessarily a boy must do or a girl must do necessarily. The only thing I would say the boys will be more equipped are the more laborious tasks, because the male body is physically stronger than the female body. And this is, I think this too is one of the things that we have used to warp the reality here. We are confusing strength, just brute strength. We're confusing that with leadership quality, and they are two different, completely different things. They are completely different things. The female body is made for a particular task in terms of reproduction, and that's the only thing her body can do that the male cannot do. There's nothing to stop a boy from washing dishes, learning to cook, learning to clean up after himself, ironing his clothes, washing his clothes. If you make a mess as a human being, you should be prepared to clean up that mess. Why somebody must come behind you and clean it up? Because you are ordained the male, and so you must have servants. I don't support that. It is not fair, it's not equitable, it is not right, and it is not healthy in terms of male female relationships. And moving forward, we need to start raising our boys in a different way. We need to start teaching our boys at school in a different way. I listen to my students, I listen to my male students and the things that they have to say about females. And I know that a lot of this came from their dads and their uncles and other men in the society whom they have access to. We have to re-educate males in general, and we have to re-educate our daughters as to their role and what kind of treatment they accept and tolerate. So you're going to be seeing lots more videos on these kinds of topics, because it's something of very much interest to me. Gender issues, I'm very interested in it. Of course, we talk about other things, right? A diversity of topics. Yeah, but you'll find a lot of gender issues. All right, so thank you for your company. And okay, so let me read what Eloretta says. Misunderstanding, ignorance, and pride. Yes, definitely. On the parts of the men. And these women are subservient out of her insecurity and lack of confidence, yes, in themselves and their abilities. This is multifactorial. It absolutely is. Absolutely is. And it's not just the men who need work, the women need work. Yes? Yes. The women need work too. We need to work on our boys and our girls, ourselves, our partners. Each of us need to humble ourselves and understand that we complement each other. Okay? We complement each other. So Kevin says, re-educating the girls cannot be understated. From my observation, the male role and behavior you are promoting is not in demand. Yeah, because is we tell them that there must be wifey material. We promote these things. No wifey material, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't serve the man. And then now he comes into the relationship expecting this from you. And if you don't give it to him, he feels entitled to seek it elsewhere. He actually feels entitled. Okay, so you now give me this or you now do that. I am a man, I have my needs, I will seek it elsewhere. Re-education. And we have to humble ourselves. See, we need each other, even at the basic evolutionary level, just to prolong the species. Even just to prolong the species, the woman can't do it alone, the man can't do it alone. Okay, Let us just humble ourselves and understand that we need each other. And in this modern society that we live, where the one income now cut it, if you go out to work and your partner goes out to work and the two of you contribute financially to the household, you should share the chores as well. That's the honest to goodness fair thing to do. Share the chores. Make a roster. Maybe you want to rotate days or rotate weeks, whatever, but just be fair to each other. Share. You make a mess, you must be willing to clean up the mess. Nobody should have to be walking behind you to clean up after you. That's where we start, right? Oh no, I'm not the author of this book. I am the author of 28 books, and I have some more books coming out. But this book is For the Life of Letitia. The author is Merle Hodge, and she's one of my favorite Caribbean writers. Yes, one of my favorite. I especially loved Crick Crap Monkey. I read that book many times. And For the Life of Letitia is pretty similar. The themes, the storyline is pretty similar. Yes, right. Make a duty list, make a roster. Everybody needs to share. Everybody make a mess in the house. Everybody need to share. And you taper the chores according to age and so on. But very few chores need to be allotted in terms of gender. Really and truly. What is it about a boy why he can't wash dishes? Why he can't make him bed? Why he can't iron and cook? There's nothing physically stopping him from doing that. Nothing. And when we teach our boys to these life skills, these are life skills. When they know how to do these things, it will prevent them from prematurely seeking female companionship because they have these needs that should be met and they can't do it for themselves. It a lot of times it forces them into unions that they're going to regret. So just because she can cook and she can clean, he doesn't love her, but because she can offer these services that he can't do for himself, he might hook up with her and she end up bearing his children and they don't love each other and they cannot be good parents together and the child suffers. Yes, these are life skills that everybody should learn. Everybody should learn how to cook, clean, wash, iron, sweep out the house, tidy up the house. Everybody must learn to do. Everybody should be doing that. We all make mess. We all wear clothes and the clothes get dirty. We all eat out of the plate and the plate get dirty. We all use the bathroom. We all sleep on the bed. So we all must learn how to tidy up after ourselves. And if you decide that, okay, in our house, we're going to split the chores, then you decide, yes, but the other person must be doing some other things too. Not just all of the burden of the housework fall on the woman and she still have to go work 40 hours for the week, just as how you work 40 hours. And when she bring in fair money, it still have to contribute to the house. How on earth, how do you sleep at night knowing that that's the situation? I couldn't sleep at night knowing that the two of we go work and then this one person doing all the chores. There are things, I don't know. I keep saying on this channel, my philosophy is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I try to be fair with people. Certain things I couldn't rest easy in my soul. I don't know how other people can do it. Right. So tomorrow night we'll talk about something else. I'm going to bed. Thank you for your company. As usual, thank you for the conversation. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Yes, this topic. So this topic should be integrated in one of the subjects in every school, possibly first form. Yes, maybe even before first form, maybe grade 5, grade 6. We need, because like I said, I hear my students talk. The worst thing you can say to a boy, the worst thing you can say to him is something that compares him to a girl. That's the ultimate disrespect in his eyes. And it's because women have been, the things we say about girls and women, we make our boys feel that it's an inferior thing to be. So the worst insult you can do is tell him you do this like a girl, or you're like a girl, or you're, no, that's the ultimate disrespect. We should make it so that it's a compliment when you compare a boy to a girl. It's a compliment because it actually is. It actually is. Okay, and we'll get into that another time. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.